Okay, so continuing with my list of favorite anime, we are still on the alternates. So these are the ones that didn't quite make my top 10, but are still shows that I absolutely love. And number 7 on that list is Sonny Boy. This is the only isekai anime on the list. It is my favorite. It's my favorite isekai anime, not my favorite isekai story. That's Muv-Luv. Very, very few things in general can really top Muv-Luv. This is my favorite isekai anime, and I'll go ahead and say it is one of 2 shows that I watched in 2023 that are on this list. Unfortunately, I don't have any merch for it. I would love at some point like to get the Blu-ray or a DVD. Here's what I love about Sonny Boy. I do enjoy the premise of its isekai, where people are going into different worlds. Okay, that's how isekai works. Is that it's not just here's the one world. There's a lot of different worlds, and every world has its own rules, the kind of weird shit that it does. The fact that all the different people. Actually, I don't remember if the main character ever. No, he does, because his powers that he goes into worlds. Is that every person ends up getting some kind of power. And it starts off as, I don't want to say quite like a Lord of the Flies situation, but just like okay, we're a bunch of high schoolers. We're now in another world. A lot of us now have powers. Let's figure out how we can use our powers to try to survive and try to find our way back home, and some of the drama and conflicts that comes of that. You do end up getting multiple factions, and how the factions go against each other. So there is some kind of Lord of the Flies in here. The reason I love Sonny Boy, the reason it is so high on my list, is like almost solely because of the ending. Not to say that everything leading up to the ending was not that good, because it's really good. I find it really interesting. Like I said, I like how these worlds work. I think it's an absolutely gorgeous looking show. And it's not an opening because it doesn't play at the start of the episodes, but its main theme, Shonen Shogo, or Shoujo, is really, really good. The final episode. Actually, is it 2 episodes? So I'm trying to remember if it's 1 episode or 2. I feel like it's 1 episode, is of our 2 main characters actually getting back. And then about half the episode is when they're back home. I'm remembering it as 1 episode. If it's 2, my bad. So the scene of them getting back, as they're running, and I don't remember the name of the song, but I remember it was by the band Toe. As the Toe song is playing, it's great. It's just like, musically it's great, visually it's great. I love the idea. They have a chance to stay in this world, in these worlds, where they have powers, where there's all different kind of shit they can explore. And they know that if they go back home, they will just be normal. It is back to the routine, back to the grind, where you are nothing special. And you just might not be happy. And they choose to go back anyway. Because even if the world isn't perfect, even if their lives aren't perfect and they have issues, it's still their life. It's still their world. And they can make the most of it. And when they get back, and I'm actually forgetting a lot of names, and I feel kind of bad. It's like, this is one of my favorite shows. I don't remember anyone's name from it. When the main character sees like his best friend, who he really had a thing for, be in a relationship with someone else, and he's now like working this dead-end job, and he has kind of no prospects. It hits really hard. Where it's, sometimes this is what happens when you choose reality. You don't get a happy ending. You might not even get a happy present. And when Shonen Shoujo starts playing in that episode, it's not the more like upbeat rock version. It is this stripped down version. I think it's just the guitar and the vocals, and you can feel how raw it is. Like there's a few points where it's like you can almost kind of like hear the vocalist, like his vocal cords just straining, and it feels so human, and I love it. But his other friend that escaped with him also remembers everything that happened. They're able to reconnect. And while things might not seem great, at least to me, it feels like there's still hope that things can get better and that you have the power to make things better because it is your world, it is your life, and there is always power that you have in your own life. There are things outside of your control. There will always be things outside of your control, and sometimes those things are really overwhelming and it doesn't seem like there's much you can do. But you can make progress. You can change your routine. You can maybe try to learn a new skill. You can apply yourself. There's always a way to be and get better. And I remember watching it and making my video on Sonny Boy and talking about how I will always choose reality over over an illusion, because even if the illusion would make me happy, it's not real and it wouldn't feel right. And it was not long after that where I lost a family member. I lost a family member to suicide, actually. It was like a week later, like maybe only a couple days. And I just remember thinking about the ending of Sonny Boy and how reality is hard. And like I said, sometimes it's overwhelming and sometimes you don't see the way out. You don't always have the compass pointing you in the right direction or telling you where to go. But you can keep going and you can go forward. And I really, really love that. So that's number 7. Now we're gonna move on to number 6, Tatami Galaxy. What I love about Tatami Galaxy is I've mentioned this in a couple other videos. I know I did it in a car talk video a few weeks ago about how my 2024, it's been up and down. Like, it's 365 days. You know, a lot of averages. There's going to be some really good ones and some real dog shit ones. But the real theme has been about, maximizing my life and my time with things like Freerin or Persona 3 or like Zom 100. A lot of media that I was consuming pretty early on kind of had that feel, and I feel like, especially in these last few months, I've been really trying to do that. Like, I do want to maximize my time. What is the stuff that's really going to help me? What are the things that really matter to me? And that's really what Tatami Galaxy is all about. It is about how, as much as you might wish for and fantasize about your rose-colored life, about it's like, man, if I had made this decision, these are all the things that would happen, it'd be great. Or if I made this decision, these are all the things that would have happened. You always have decisions in your life and on your day-to-day. And you can make decisions that will make you happy, that will make the life you're living the life you want to be living. The show is very funny. Like, it's a Yuasa show, and like, you can tell with just how creative it is with its visuals. Like, I love Higuchi's design. Big ass, like, fucking chin. Oh gosh, I just remembered the boob wall. That sounds weird out of context. Even in context, it's weird, but it's so funny how insane it is. It's something I really enjoyed, and it's something where, like, by the time I got to, like, I could kind of tell where it was going, but, like, really, once I got to the end of it, it hit me hard in, like, a really good place. Like I said, it's, when I was watching, it's not something I watched this year, even though it thematically kind of fits this year. It was, I want to say, like, 2021. It was a year where I really didn't have a lot of direction, where I was very much like, I don't really know what I want to do. Like, I know what I want to do with my life. I don't know how to get there. You know, if I had done this, and thinking about the life I want instead of thinking about the life I have and how to make it the life I want. It's really, really good. I would say, again, like, I'm putting it above Sonny Boy. It's kind of like with Assassination Classroom and Zombieland Saga. I could maybe go either way with the two of them. To me, what puts Tatami Galaxy over the edge is kind of cheating, if I'm being honest. It's the Night is Short, Walk On Girl, which is not a sequel. It's completely different. The characters are not the same. But it is the same character designs. I think it's all the same voice actors. I believe it is a story that was like a book written by the author of Tatami Galaxy. It's a companion piece. It feels right to watch Night is Short after watching Tatami Galaxy. And I feel like if I hadn't have done that, I probably still would have enjoyed Night is Short. But I don't think I would have enjoyed it quite as much as I did, seeing some of those little connections. Like, the whole Johnny thing at the end, I probably would have been like, I think I know what's happening. And after Tatami Galaxy, I'm like, oh, I completely understand what's happening. This is hilarious. Or, I think when Ozu shows up, you get the little grumbling, like, this is how I show my love. Like, oh, after Tatami Galaxy, like, this is amazing. It's great. The show is great. The companion piece movie is great. I would highly recommend watching either of them. Okay. Speaking of cheating, great transition. This is where I have my one tie on the alternates. There's a tie in the top 10 as well. I talked about that earlier. This is where I have the tie in the alternates. It is between Shirobako, and this is the movie, it's not actually the show. I wish I also had the show. And Sakura Quest, also known as the best damn thing mankind has ever made or can ever hope to make. So let me explain that real quick. So Sakura Quest came out, I think 2018, maybe 2017 or 2018. I watched it during my third year of law school, which is, you know, the last year. And I had heard that the new season or like remake or whatever of like Cardcaptor Sakura had come out, and that apparently it was amazing, and I still haven't watched it. But I was trying to find it on Funimation, and I couldn't find it. And I was going through the list of shows with Sakura in the title, didn't see it, and my cursor was on Sakura Quest. And I was trying to go back, and instead I accidentally added it to the queue. And my brain was like, hey, no, I'm not trying to add this shit to the queue. I don't know what this is. I don't care. And then immediately I just kind of thought to myself, hold on a second. This is not what you were looking for. But for all you know, this is the best damn thing mankind has ever made or could ever hope to make. It could be art of the highest caliber. It is something that might change your life forever. And you stumbled on it by happenstance and then are trying to reject it. To put it in a Digimon Tamer's turn, you're running away from destiny. It's like, oh gosh, I love that scene. Tamer's is not on the list. I love Tamer's so fucking much though. But, so I thought to myself, okay, let me give it a watch. And I loved it. Sakura Quest is about a group of, I believe it's 4 women. There might be a 5th that I just keep forgetting, but I believe it's 4 women who are living in this town out in the sticks. I don't remember what it's called. I'm just going to call it Hinamizawa because that's just kind of the general name I use for this is the town out in the sticks and in the boonies. So they're working for the Hinamizawa like tourism board to try to bring people into the town, to try to give it some love because all the kids are growing up and leaving. And again, this is a show where I unfortunately just don't remember names. I don't really remember the names of Shirobako either. But the main cast of S-Quest, you've got the girl that just graduated and has always wanted to like live in the city and now has to do this shit instead. She's like, I didn't want to live out in the country. I kind of hate doing this shit. But I'm starting to appreciate it for what it is. You've got the girl who's lived in this town her whole life and has never wanted to leave and is genuinely so confused about why people can't appreciate, the simple things in life. You've got the woman who also lived in the town all her life, couldn't wait to leave, went out to leave to pursue her dreams, and didn't make them come true. And now she has to come back home and live with that. And the other one, again, there might be 5 and I'm forgetting, but the other one is the woman who lived in the city, kind of, did all the hustle and bustle and said, I don't really want to do this anymore. I want to move somewhere out in the country, somewhere low key, where I can just chill. And as someone who was in my last year of school and was like, I'm gonna have to go into the workforce soon and like really try to get my shit figured out, it was something that really resonated with me. It is a very slice of life show. Like, there's no fantasy element. It's not like Clannad or like Wolf Children, which is about kind of day-to-day life, but there's supernatural stuff going on as well. This is just about 4 women working a job and living their lives. And I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I also really love the opening. I feel like that's not something I've said about, I don't think I talked about music at all in Gintama. But I really love the first opening. And I think it's both ending songs I really liked, particularly the first one. It's a show that's I guess I was expecting it to leave an impact with the weird way that I discovered it. But I'm like, I am actually really glad that I watched it and happened to stumble upon it. And after I watched it, I learned that the company, I think it was like P4G, but that's also Persona 4 Golden. No, it's a PA Works, I think. I might have fucked that up. It's P something. That Sakura Quest was part of like a trilogy of anime that are all about young women in the workforce. And one of them, I think, is, I haven't seen it. I think it's like a woman like inherits the bathhouse of like her parents, like starts working like her grandparents' bathhouse and blah, blah, blah. I haven't seen it. If it's the quality of these other two, it's fucking great. The other is Shirobako. Shirobako is about a group of friends who all wanted to work together and make anime. You've got 2 of them who said, I want to be animators, like draw and do all the hand-drawn stuff. One friend who said, I want to be a writer. One who said, I want to be a voice actress. And another who said, I want to be an animator, but I want to do 3D animation. And like they worked together on a project. I think it was in high school or college. I think it was high school, where they made an anime. It's like, our dream is to make this project a real thing. And they celebrate by eating donuts and they go, Don Donuts, let's go nuts. And it's great. Then life happens. You've got the main character who wanted to be an animator and was essentially told, you are not good enough. You do not have the talent for this. You do not have the skill for this. And so to work in the industry, she is working as a producer. Which is not, like, she's like, I'm in the industry that I love, and I guess I almost like my job, but it's not what I wanted, and I'm so stressed, like, all the time, because you have to meet deadlines, and you have to deal with stupid people. Like there's this one like producer intern in the office. I don't remember his name. It's like this dude's like an idiot. And also you got to balance the personalities and the fact that like the director, God bless his soul, but he is not good when it comes to meeting deadlines. Like when he's cooking, but man, he spends way too much time not in the kitchen. And then one of her other friends who was working in the same like studio as her is an animator, but she's a lot, from what I remember, it's like she's a lot slower and she's dealing with a lot of issues with her confidence and her self-esteem. It's like, I'm doing what I love, but I'm not loving what I'm doing. One of the friends, I think, is just like, I'm the writer. I'm just in university. I'm just kind of chilling. The friend that wanted to do 3D animation is working for a company where she's doing 3D modeling of cars. She's like, I'm good at it, but it's the most dead-end shit I've ever had to do in my life. And the friend that wanted to be a voice actress is trying so hard to break into the industry, and she's just not cutting it. It is a show about people wanting to live their dreams and achieving their ambitions, and how life gets in the way, but also kind of puts you where you need to be. Because by the end of the show, they do all get to work on a series together. Not the way they expected, but they are able to do it. And it's wonderful. And I did cry during Shirobako. Speaking of things in Shirobako that made me cry, I cried during the Ding Dang movie. It is specifically, if you've ever seen the movie, and if you watch the show, I highly recommend the movie. There is a scene where the studio is like, it hasn't been doing as well. I think they said, oh, fuck. Sorry, my computer is like, we're scheduled to restart, and I don't want to do that because that shit is really fucking annoying, and I wanted to also have my notes up. I don't have, like, notes, I just have the list of shows. Anyways, Shirobako, making me cry. So, the studio hasn't been doing as well, and now they have a job. It's like, to make a movie. They're like, okay, good news and bad news. The good news, if we do this and pull this off, we can maybe get some eyes on us. Maybe, we can kind of get back into the scene, into the groove of things. The problem is we don't have any ding-dang time to make this. This is a rush job of rush jobs. And if we put out a movie, and it's the first thing we've really put out in a while, I think the last project kind of went to shit. If this is bad, this might just be the end of us. What do we do? And the main character sings this song about, the best way I can describe it is, fuck it, we ball. There's an opportunity, and I'm going to take it. Partially because if things work out, things will super work out, and, do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. Also, we're just kind of in a rut. I am in a rut, and I need something to get me out of that. I need, something to get my spark back. I want to love what I do again. And it is this, like, wacky, over-the-top musical number. And, like, in a vacuum, it's just funny and bizarre and just shows the character's fractured mental state, which is kind of a thing throughout Shirobako. She has a very stressful job. But also, I think in context, like, this is a creative person wanting to feel that spark again. And I think also I had watched the movie around a time where I kind of felt my own spark fading a bit. And it really resonated with me. It hit me right here. I love it. I think, like I said, I think both shows are great. I think I watched Sakura Quest kind of exactly when I needed to, and I saw the Shirobako movie right when I needed to. Shirobako itself was like, it wasn't I needed to see it right now. It was just more like, no, this show was fantastic and I absolutely love it. So I feel like that's what I want to say about them. So that's number 5. So now we get to number 4 on my list of alternates, something I also don't have any merch for. It's Log. It's Legend of Galactic Heroes. Oh my goodness. This show is phenomenal. It's what? It's like 110 episodes, 120 episodes or something. It's long. But me personally, I never found it boring. It is a show all about politics and political maneuvering, and I don't want to just say, like, yeah, it's Game of Thrones in space, because I feel like that is not doing Log justice, but I feel like that's a very easy way to pitch it. If you enjoy those elements of Game of Thrones, again, if you enjoy the politics, if you enjoy like some of the backstabbing and the maneuvering and try to get your way to the top, if you enjoy the battles, I mean, it's not like this is a show about swords, like they're using ships, it's more like Navy stuff, but a lot of the strategy and the planning that goes into it, I would highly recommend Log. It is fundamentally a show about war. This, you get to see it from, sorry, brain stop for a second. You see it from the perspective of the politicians. You see it from the perspective of the soldiers. You see it at times from the perspective of the civilians. And you get to also see, you also get to see the after effects. Because about halfway through the show, Reinhardt's side wins the war. Like I said, full spoilers to the top of the other one. I will put it in the description. You see his side win the war. Like, okay, this was like a 100-year or something war. Now what happens after it ends? And I find it really interesting. And it's got my boy Yang Wenli. Like, I love him. Like, I absolutely adore this man. This is what it happens when you are the hero of the losing side. His death hurt, man. And the fact that it's just some random, no-name person that does it feels kind of perfect in its own way. I love Reinhardt. I love Ruenthal, and like his story is like, yeah, this is a dude who was suspected of being a traitor by, not by his king, not by his, well, Kaiser, I think. I don't remember if Reinhardt ever called himself Führer. I don't think so. But hit a point where he's like, look, if everyone suspects me of being a piece of shit, no one will ever trust me. So let me like make a rebellion so he can take care of the problem. And so I am no longer like a thorn in his side. I loved all of that. Oh, I gotta talk about my boy Oberstein. Oberstein is one of my favorite kinds of characters. I also gotta shout out Fazan real quick, because all of them and their scheming and bullshit, absolutely ate that shit up. What I love about Oberstein, I love characters that say, my goal is to protect the realm. I am here for the people. I am here for the kingdom. I'm not loyal to you, your grace. I'm loyal to the throne you sit on and to the people you look after. While also being the most like scummy, slimy, deceptive pieces of shit. I am not a good person, but I will protect the good people however I have to. I find them really interesting. Again, like, I don't want to just say like it's Game of Thrones. He reminds me a lot of Varys, and I like that a lot. It's almost like take all of Littlefinger's sliminess, but Varys' more kind of altruistic motives, and that's Oberstein. Oh, also, the show can be really funny. Like, there's the scene where Reinhardt, oh shit, what was, I don't remember the name of his girlfriend. I want to say her name started with like a B, but that might be completely wrong. It's like, I want to call her Beatrice, but that's probably because I'm looking at the Golden Witch herself right there. Anyways, but there's a scene where when he kind of realizes that, oh wait, no, like she's not just like my friend and companion, I love her, and he shows up to her house with this like giant bouquet of flowers. It's really funny. You got anything with Bittenfield? Like, what is the line? It's something along the lines of, like, look, man, like, the goddess of victory is waving her underwear in our faces. We gotta go for it. And at one point, he pisses Reinhardt off, and in the middle of a fight, Reinhardt just yells, cut off all communication with Bittenfield. I don't want to deal with him. There's a scene where they're talking about, like, poison. And Bittenfield's like, no, I'm immune to poison. Otherwise, I would have died for being around Oberstein years ago. And even Oberstein starts laughing. There's this one admiral in Reinhardt's military who doesn't speak. He'll, like, snap his fingers, make gestures, and all of that shit, but he never talks, and so he gets a new intern. And the intern is specifically, like, told, when the Admiral does this, it means this. When the Admiral does this, it means this. It's like, if he does this, it means he wants water. If he does this, it means he wants coffee. And the intern gets it wrong, and the Admiral never corrects him. So, like, oh yeah, for, like, the rest of this part of the war, he just always got his orders wrong. And then in, like, the penultimate episode, it's, like, really late to the show, the dude finally says something, and it's, like, super innocuous, and everyone in the room looks so shocked that he talked. And then the narrator, who will always make a point whenever, like, something notable happens, like, on this day, the war ended, or, like, on this day, Yang Wenli was assassinated. He goes, on this day, this motherfucker finally spoke. And my favorite, I think the funniest thing in the entire show is Yang's fleet is being attacked. And there's some dudes who are like, yeah, you know, we can do this. Like, we're an undefeated fleet. We're an undefeated ship. We can take them. And they go to a superior officer who goes like, what are you talking about? We need to run away. He's like, we're undefeated. Yeah, we are undefeated because we don't start fights we can't win. Can we run away any faster? Oh, it's great. I really, genuinely cannot recommend Log enough. It's one of those shows where I'm like, I kind of wish it was higher on my list, but I don't. I'm happy more or less with where it is. So now we move on to number 3. A 1, a 2, a 3 on my list of alternates. And I am going to get up for a second to show the merch here, because this is a poster. And it is this one right here of Serial Experiments Lain. So, yeah, the Hawaiian shirt. But again, we'll talk about that in a couple shows. So, sorry, brain completely stopped for a second. I watched Lain for the first time in like 2011, 2012 or so. I just didn't get into it. I thought it was confusing, boring, kind of up its own ass, blah, 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 blah. It just did not click with me. I heard the show was great, and I just didn't see it. And then a couple years ago, back in 2022, some friends of mine were watching it. They were really enjoying it. And I was like, you know what? Let me revisit it. Maybe I'll enjoy it a lot more. And I loved it. Yes, I loved Lain. Let's all love Lain. And something I did recently was, it's not recent, technically I did it 2 years ago, was when I was rewatching it, I took notes. And I think that's partially why I liked it as much as I did. It's like, I'm going to really pay attention, take notes on what happened, and really think about every episode, like what it's going for, some of the themes, like what's actually going on in the plot. And it made me appreciate the show a lot, but I made like short audio videos going over every episode, and I actually found them a couple days ago, because as I was making this list, I was like, yeah, Lain is really high for me. I think I want to see if I can find those videos and post them, because I kind of did before when I was doing like the podcast style videos. And I was like, let me just release them separately. So I did that. They feel very different from how I make videos now, for better or for worse. But I still wanted to go ahead and do that. But getting to the show, the short version is This to me is just like a work of art. And I don't want to say that none of these shows are, because A, I think they all are. I have a very loose definition when it comes to the term art. And I've talked about that before, I don't really want to go into it. But it's like, this to me is like you're in the higher like tiers of my museum kind of piece of art. I just love a lot of the shot composition. I love a lot of the use of color, because I actually re-listened to those audio logs. Like, all right, let me kind of refresh my opinion on Lain. And something I talked about quite a bit, it is like, this is a great shot, this is a great shot, man, the music here is really good, is the use of the color white to represent loneliness. And you get it a lot with Lain, and then there's a point pretty late in the show where you get it with Alice as well. It's a show about technology, it's a show about the internet, but it's not necessarily about how technology bad, don't get into it, and it's more about how it's a tool like anything else. It has its place. Information is an addiction like anything else. Or like, it can be an addiction. Because you can just like look up stuff, get what you need, or like, I enjoy a little bit of gossip, or you could just be scrolling all the time. There's a title of one of the episodes, it's called Infernography, combining information and pornography. I'm like, yeah, fuck, I really love that word and the way it sounds, and it's very fitting for the kind of show that Lain is and what it's about. It's also a show about anonymity on the internet and like the power that can give you, but also just your identity and how that can develop, and identity theft, and how people could start rumors about you, and how that can really gain a mind of its own and kind of become its own entity. Like, there's a little bit of the collective unconscious that you get in shit like Paranoia Agent and Inspector, neither of which are on the list, but both shows I really like. I never got around to the second season of Inspector. I need to do that. Anyways, Lain is one of those shows where there's just a lot going on. And when I took the time to appreciate it, I felt very, very rewarded for it. It's a show where I would say I can't recommend it enough, but it's a show where if you're gonna watch it, really engage with it. And I think if you do, you won't be disappointed. Where are we at? That's 37 minutes. Cool. I've got 2 left, so we can end this relatively quickly. So number 12 on the list. On a list that has been all about shows that have left these emotional impacts on me, or something like Lain that I think is just this great work of art. Number 12 is Symphogear. It is a fucking magical girl series about characters who sing songs to transform, and then after they've transformed, keep singing to kick ass. And at first they're fighting just like random monsters. It's the noise, which it's a show about like music and whatnot. I think that's actually a pretty fun name for the antagonists. And then you end up fighting alchemists, and then the Illuminati, and then you end up fighting a demon, and just the escalation in Symphogear is amazing. Like, it's 5 seasons. The first season has a phenomenal first episode, and then I think is like kind of okay for a while, and then you get the climax, where the main antagonist is revealed to be like this ancient, like Babylonian, like witch or demon. I think she was the whore of Babylon. I might be misremembering that, but that sounds right. That feels right. The whore of Babylon has reconstructed the Tower of Babel and is using Durandal, like Roland's sword, as a battery to charge the Tower of Babel to fire a laser at the moon, because the moon is a representation of the curse of Babel when God said, "You are building a tower unto heaven? No, and I will curse you so you cannot understand each other." And that's what the moon is, and she wants to blow up the moon so humanity can like connect and whatnot, and so she can be closer to God. That's the climax, is fighting this. And at one point, she hits the moon. And so for the rest of the series, there's like a chunk of the moon missing. And as she's about to be defeated, and they're giving like the power of friendship speech, she like uses like a hook sword, hooks the moon, and like rips it out of orbit to Majora's Mask the world. And then the main characters punch the moon back into orbit. And that's only season 1. The show gets better from there, and it gets crazier from there. The start of season 3 has the main characters getting fired into space. Oh, I'll mess with that later. Sorry, I had a text. I thought I was on airplane mode. They get fired into space via a rocket, and then as the rocket like dissipates, they start singing. They ride a space shuttle and then start driving the space shuttle into the Earth. They're about to hit a mountain, so one of them just blows up part of the mountain, and then they go flying through the mountain. They end up crashing, and the main character they're like, oh shit, like we gotta drive. So she starts like punching trees and shit like to drive the space shuttle. Then they're about to hit a town, so she jumps in front of the space shuttle and is just using her strength to like try and stop it, and then at one point flips it over a building. It's amazing. It's incredible. There's a scene at the start of season 4 where they're in a helicopter, like 2 of the characters are in a helicopter, and a missile gets fired at them. So they open both doors, and then the missile just goes through the helicopter and then explodes outside. The climax of season 4 when they're fighting Adam and he's like God and shit, and then Beaky is running up his arm using her transformation tool and starts screaming her transformation song, does so, and just punches the shit out of him. It's glorious. I will be the first to say there's things in Symphogear that just don't work. Like, Beaky's whole thing in season 2 where I don't even remember what the conflict was. It was something like, hey, you say you want to be a good person and, like, help people, but you punch, you're fighting us. Like, you're a bad person. She goes, oh my god, maybe she's right. And it never really made sense. Like, it almost worked, but didn't quite. And you've got, I just wasn't big on her. Okay, I think her relationship with her dad is super interesting with how, like, negative she is. Like, this is Beaky of all people, and she doesn't want anything to do with her dad. I think he's a bit too easily forgiven by the end, but you can make the argument it works thematically with, especially we like compare it to Carol and her relationship with her dad and like Legacy, which shout out Giant Robo, by the way. Like, it has Carol's relationship with her dad is very Giant Robo coded. I don't know. There's probably like another thing or two. Like, there's shit in the show that just doesn't work. Like some of the emotional beats, some of the character arcs. And for a show that I'm putting this high on the list, why? Like, why is it so high? Like, yeah, half the shit that they try to do doesn't work. Because genuinely, I think it works enough. Because genuinely, the fights are so fun, and the action scenes are so creative, and the music is so good, and there's that one anime trope that I love. It's like, alright, it's the climax, we're gonna play the opening. So what they make sure to do is they will play the ending in full in one episode. I think it's usually like the last 2 or 3 episodes. Like, in one of them, we're gonna play the ending in full during a scene. Now we're gonna play the opening in full during a scene. And it's great. It's super hype. Symphogear is just fun. It is so incredibly fun to watch. And while there's a lot of things that I've talked about that have left like a real emotional impact, and others where I'm like, this is just a phenomenal piece of art, sometimes the best thing a piece of media or a piece of art can do is just entertain you and just make you happy and make you smile and make you grin. I love Symphogear. It absolutely rules. So then we get to the top of the list. My number one alternate. When I thought I only had 9 slots in the top 10 because I forgot how to count, this would have been my number 10. The reason I am wearing the Hawaiian shirt, Monogatari. So, first off, gotta show off this. This is my one Monogatari poster. It's not quite a poster, but it's of Ogi, who is my favorite character in Monogatari. I've also got a Shinobu over here. I mean, you know, it's a kiss shot, Acerola, blah, 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 but it's Shinobu. Like, what do you want me to do? And for fun little crossover stuff, this is Madoka, but she is specifically wearing Hitagi's dress from, I think it's like the last arc of season 1 of Monogatari. That sounds about right. And also one of Homura wearing the school uniform from Monogatari. So I do have a decent amount of Monogatari merch, even if like half of it is just Madoka stuff. And yeah, I wasn't sure like what shirt I wanted to wear. I'd like a couple Pikachu shirts. Like I have something specifically for when I get to my top 5, because I think the top 10 is probably going to be here's a video and then here's a video. Maybe I'll wear the shirt I want to wear for the whole top 10. I don't know. But it's like, what do I want to wear for this one? One of my favorite arcs, and it is, I know I made a list of my favorite arcs back in 2021, which is when I watched Monogatari. Nadeko Draws would now be on there, by the way. It was so good. One of my favorite arcs, not my absolute favorite, is, what is it called? It's like Hitagi something, but it's the Kaiki arc. Nope. It is the Kaiki arc. And one of the best scenes is when he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Like when he and Senjogahara are trying to like outdo each other and he just shows up in a Hawaiian shirt and she just starts laughing. It's great. It's gold. Why is it so high on the list? I think for me, Monogatari is at the top of the alternate list because it kind of does a little bit of everything. It is a show that is wildly entertaining. Like with how weird the backgrounds are and how like scenes are framed, with how fast the dialogue is, with how funny a lot of the dialogue is. Like there's this one line from Senjogahara, I know I've called her Hitagi and Senjogahara, I'll go back and forth probably, where she's like, yeah, my voice actress is really talented, which is a really funny fourth wall joke, and then you realize, no, that's actually a line in the book, and I think that's even funnier in the book. Like I said, the fucking Hawaiian shirt scene is so funny to me. Like, there's a lot of stuff in the show that is just really entertaining and fun. I also really love it as this work of art because of how creative it is and how weird it can be. I find it really interesting. And I don't know if I want to say it's like one of the most inspirational shows I've seen, like from that perspective, like as someone who loves to create. But I kind of do. It's kind of like what I was saying about House, where it's like, this is just someone saying, I have a creative vision. Here's my creative vision. And watching it unfold is kind of awesome. In terms of it having an emotional impact, or at least something that really resonates with me, there is some of that too. Nadeko Draws in particular absolutely does. I talked about that when I made a separate video on that earlier this year, and how as someone who loves to write and create, I can see how a lot of those aspects of Nadeko's character really come together, or like are reflected. I feel like there was something else I was going to say. I don't remember. It's been a couple years, and like some of the arcs kind of blend together in their own weird way. Mostly in season 2, where I'm like, okay, these are like where a lot of the best arcs are, in my opinion. It's just something I loved watching. And when I found out a new season was coming out, I was very excited. And I kind of made sure to wait. It's like, I want to be able to binge each arc. And I had such a good time doing it. Also, it has the Kizu movies, which is not my favorite arc. I think I had Kizu in like top 3, top 4 or so. Because I think my 3 favorites, I don't know if I put Negdeco Draws in the top 3 or top 4. I think it's Kizu, Ogi, is it like Ogi Dark or Ogi Black? It's Ogi's last arc, like the end of season 3, and the Kaiki arc are my favorites. I also have to give a shout out to the Muso Express arc. I think that's probably also in like my top 4 or 5. It's so good. It's so creepy. I just really fucking love this show. It is not a show I can recommend to everyone because of how weird it is, like visual, like how it presents itself, and also a lot of the humor, like the toothbrush scene. It's hilarious, but it's also just what? There's a lot of just what stuff in Monogatari. But if you can get past that, and I understand if you can't, but genuinely, if you get past that, there's a really, really good anime there. So those are my alternates. Those are my 13 through 1, I guess 14 through 1, because Shirobako and S-Quest are 2 separate shows. But those are the alternates done. I'm off tomorrow, so I am hoping some point tomorrow I can do my top 10.